What's up, guys? Reformed Stoic here, back with another video. For today's topic, I wanted to talk about guys who lost their friends from being conservative, guys who became isolated from just leaning right, political things. I think it's probably a little bit more than that. There was like a trifecta of things that I've identified in my life as far as like how I ended up being isolated. First of all, it was like becoming right wing, failing with women, and then the joke that I came up in my head, because that's probably like common for a lot of guys. You could definitely have like taken a lane where you were more of a Chad and you were right wing and you lost a lot of friends, but maybe you found a woman or something. I just watched a video from a guy who said that the video is titled like a 38-year-old introvert who doesn't have any friends, and you kind of just assume he's alone. And I got like 10 minutes into his video, and then he mentioned that he has a wife and kids. It's like, oh, okay, well, it's a little bit different, man. I left a comment and said that if I died in my apartment, my cats would eat me, and honestly, probably nobody would even find me in my starving/dead cats for like a month. ... Cheers. So, oh, you have people that love you. Okay, well, that's a little bit different, but anyway, the joke in my head was like, there's a cutaway in Family Guy. I think it's referencing the Goonies, where he's like, look, it's the missing piece from One-Eyed Willie, or he like holds up a coin and then some girl's shape fits the pattern. For me, the missing piece to the puzzle is like failing with music, being a failed, washed up musician. So it's like, okay, you're conservative, you're like a conservative chud, right winger, and you're failing with women. Oh man, but something's missing. Come on, think. Failed with music. Oh, it's like the key that opened everything up. Like, wow, he's the chosen chud. Just absolutely, just a freaking wreck of a life. But I'm not an expert on people losing their friends for being conservative. Actually, I think a lot of this video is just kind of reaching out, trying to see if more people have had the same experience. And a little bomb I like to drop is that I have never met a conservative woman in my entire life. Maybe like some of the guys I met at the Baptist church that I went to when I first moved here, maybe some of their wives were. I don't know. I didn't really talk to them that much. I'm sure they're a lot more conservative than the women that I've known in my life, but the only women that were around when I was in like party circles was like women who would grow up to be feminists and far left, radical leftist, borderline commies. And the same was true in the metal scene. When I lived on the East Coast, the girls that I met at music school, and then every girl that I came across in Vegas. Like, I have quite literally never met a conservative girl in my entire life. I'm not aware of any. I've not met any through Facebook or anything. Like, in my experience, they don't exist. So, we're off to kind of a sloppy start here, but, yeah, and honestly for me, what really started it, I've kind of been over this before. I'm trying not to let this video become how I became isolated and lost all my friends, because I've already told that story. I mean, a big portion of it was that I was developing right-wing opinions, and it wasn't like a natural transition for me, you know, because I had been a liberal kind of a guy, you know? I was regurgitating the kind of stuff that like college educated men say to me if they're atheist now. I had all those opinions when I was like 17 or 16. I was regurgitating like Richard Dawkins TED Talk stuff when I was like 16, 17. So I already was going through that when I was very young. And pretty much still as I was going into my 20s, playing in metal bands and stuff. But I think I believed in like something. It's when you can kind of admit to yourself that you just don't like Christianity, you know? A lot of people can't admit that, but people love to point out, Christians really like to point out how atheists, it's always about Christianity. They try to make it seem like it's all religion, but they really don't like Christianity. And I think I was able to admit that to myself. And so I guess you could say I was just kind of like spiritual in my early 20s. I like read horoscopes and just had some sort of a weird, cheesy view. But politically, you know, Obama got into office when I was finishing up high school. And then he got reelected when I was in my early 20s in Boston. And I just didn't really care. I was the kind of guy who would probably tell people that I'm not political. You know, I really wasn't any sort of intellect back then. I didn't read books, didn't care about politics, just played drums, smoked weed, partied, hung out, didn't ask too many questions, just tried to make people laugh and have a good time. I had a great taste. I feel like I always had a good taste in movies and stand-up. You know, one of my roommates would be like, oh, dude, this stand-up special is really funny. And then I'd show him like a more classic stand-up, like, Revelations from Bill Hicks, you know, which now I kind of look back on as like, oh, that's kind of degenerate and liberal. But, you know, he'd show me like Bo Burnham, which is on Netflix, and then I'd show him Bill Hicks's classic stand-up. I had a little bit better taste in things. I think that's kind of like where some of my character used to come out before. I was at least trying to be an intellectual. But, you know, in those times, it was like, I think I was what the internet would call a high-tier normie, maybe more like a mid-tier normie. I was very sociable. I had a lot of friends. I had a lot of people around. But every now and then, you know, women would make a nasty comment at me, or I'd get one of these kind of faces, like... Sometimes I just get that face just for looking the way I do. Sometimes a girl would literally just look at me and be like... One time I was standing behind a girl at a concert, and she turned around and just kind of like patted me on the head. You guys ever got that? You ever got the pat on the head? But, you know, I didn't have like the most well-adjusted sense of humor or personality either. So sometimes I would say things that would result in that. It was probably a combination of both, but I have a feeling that people on my channel probably have a really hard time imagining what kind of a person I was before I got here, because it was very different. You know, just in my mind, the movie that popped in my head is The Jerk. You ever seen The Jerk with what's that actor who has the white hair? Martin something. He was in Parenthood. His name is totally I just can't think of his name. But The Jerk, at the very beginning of the movie, he's homeless and he tells you a story. Just kind of reminds me of that right now for some reason. I feel like seeing that movie when I was a kid. It's kind of foreboding. My babysitter showed it to me. I got it on DVD now. I have the collection of whatever that actor's name is. I should really remember that guy's name. But, yeah, you know, I had friends, but I feel like it came at a cost. It's like, I didn't have a lot of success with women. Every once in a blue moon, I'd hook up. I never had girlfriends. I hooked up. Like, I had flings, you know. The only sex I ever had was one-night stands. One time, you know, I saw a girl a couple of different times. But, mid-tier normie. You know, I had some status from playing drums. I think I probably had some potential to do better. I swear so much of it was that just in metal. You know, if there would have been more girls at the shows, maybe something would have happened, but metal, bro. A lot of dudes. A lot of dudes playing in metal bands, tell you what. But I guess I'm kind of getting lost from the topic here. Just trying to paint a little bit of a picture of what my life was leading up to losing all my friends, and I was trying to say like kind of where it started. It was kind of like getting attacked with missiles, you know? It's like me fitting in with people and being accepted is like my spaceship, and it's like I took a hit when some big drama happened. Always on Facebook. The first one was when this rapper here made some Kodiak song, like Near Island, Bell's Flats, I was born and raised in Kodiak. You know, it was just kind of lame, but he was kind of like a popular guy. He was like some cutesy, pretty boy guy, you know, not very tall, not like very big or strong, but he more well-adjusted, popular guy than me. And he made this little music video in this song, and people on the island were being really supportive, and I was bitter about it. You know, this is like 2021, because I had been doing my little rap for a long time, and people kind of ignored it. Like, I definitely got the idea that people didn't think it was great, and it wasn't really that great. It's weird, if you guys have like heard the rap that I made on my channel back in it's called Lucid Hip Hop, the Lost Tracks. That's what I used to call myself, Lucid Hip Hop. I had songs all the way back to 2010 that I put in that compilation that were pretty good. But it's like I wasn't consistent, you know? A lot of songs that I was making around that time didn't make it to that compilation. So I was still in the feeling around stage. You know, I made a couple of songs all the way back in like 2011 and 2012 that to this day I think are decent and showed a lot of potential and are pretty good, where I sampled the beat from like horror movies. But I was also making songs around that time that weren't that good. And anyway, I made a comment on Facebook. I was like, I don't know what the deal is. Like, you know, if you guys want to listen to a real rapper, you know, I was bitter because this guy was getting some attention, and you know, his song was really lame. It really was lame. And he's not a bad rapper. He ended up putting out like an EP, and I feel like lyrically he had nothing going on, but he actually probably had a better concept of flow than I did early on, which is kind of ironic because I'm a drummer. But it took me years to like actually develop my own taste in hip hop and rap and get a better concept of how you're supposed to flow over a song. But and this isn't based off of that song. Based off of the EP that he eventually put out, he had a decent flow. But people jumped on my Facebook, you know, and just started kind of dogpiling me. Like, this one guy's like, you know, I've seen you post your rap and it doesn't get any likes or comments. And of course, that guy was a drummer who ended up joining the military, who I think was a little bit bitter that I went to Berkeley. That's the thing about this small town, you know, the people on Facebook who would like jump on my wall, you know, the monitoring spirits who, when I'm posting news about a show or posting something positive, chirp, 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 chirp. But as soon as I'm in a bad mood and I post something negative, everybody dogpiles. And I haven't even really like acknowledged this yet, bro. That is my experience on Facebook. I mean, it started off like I was kind of popular on Facebook and people would like my statuses, but the more time went on, the more I kind of got ignored, especially after I had some drama like this. But, you know, I'd try to be positive on Facebook and it would get ignored. But then when I had a bad day, it's like everybody was watching me, waiting for an opportune moment to jump in. And that was really the first time. So that was like 2012 when I was living in the house with all the metal musicians. I saw that song posted in Kodiak and I was like, this is stupid, dude. I'm a better rapper than this guy. I even made like a diss track that's not one of the tracks that made it to my compilation. So that was the first clash I had with the town. And then I'd been pretty outspoken in some local Kodiak groups that had like caused a little bit of drama. But what it really started with was I was getting into ancient aliens. I posted something about ancient aliens and how I thought it was fascinating, which of course now I don't believe in. And ironically, I think a lot of people who gave me shit for being into that back then, they might be into that now because, oh, you know, scientifically, ancient astronauts, it's very perceivable, it's very plausible, especially compared to the Abrahamic faiths. You know, that's a way more socially acceptable thing now. But it's weird because Ancient Aliens was already on TV back then, and people were kind of talking to me about the Ancient Aliens show. I had never seen that, you know. I was reading, like, tablets of Malachi and Zeork that somebody showed me. I mean, I was into the real deal. I wasn't even watching that show, Ancient Aliens. Somebody turned me on to some of the tablets and the Zachariah Stitchin kind of stuff, which obviously I'm not into now. But this chick went on my Facebook, and she totally paved the way for what happened. She was so unbelievably disrespectful to me. She's like, I can't believe that, and I've been to college, but considering other things that I've seen you say on Facebook, it's not surprising. And I was really cool about it, and this is a big thing that I experienced in the past, and I've been through this cycle where it's like I reflected on what I'm about to describe to you, that I was really cool about it. He's like, okay, well, you know what, it sounds like somebody's a little frustrated today, and then I just kind of banned her and blocked her. I did the right thing. I handled it right. I didn't blow up in her face. I did the right thing, and I got her out of there, and I blocked her, but I was bitter about it, and I wasn't okay with that, and then I started to regret how I handled it. I feel like I kind of pussed out, you know? And now, the path of self-improvement and, like, trying to grow in grace and the Holy Spirit, that's actually how you handle things. But you have to have, like, a tight mental game to where you know that you're handling it the right way and you don't regret it. Because I was really bitter about that. And within maybe, like, a day of that, that's when I posted the status on my wall. You know, I'm smarter than, like, 80% of you, which the reality is it was 100%. We've been over this. This is kind of going over some stuff, maybe if you missed it before. But that caused a big argument on my wall. Some girl posted some passive-aggressive meme. And I was like, you know, there's girls on my wall trying to talk down to me like they're smarter than me. And I remember at parties, they would hook up with 2 different guys in the same night and not remember it the next day. I said that in that thread. And this girl was so mad that I said that. It was a different girl. But even acknowledging those kind of things, because I guess on some level, I had a little bit of a monitoring spirit kind of thing going on. I wasn't doing it in a negative way. It's just I got a good memory. I was at the parties, and that's a true story. That girl who came on my wall is like, I went to college, and this is ridiculous and unfounded, but considering the things you said in the past, it doesn't surprise me. That chick would get freaking ham-sauced at a party, hook up with 2 different guys in the same night, and not remember it the next day. Okay? That's the kind of girls who were talking down to me on my Facebook. And, oh, gee, here I am at 32 years old, and, boy, that's a lot of books, isn't it, girls? And there's a lot of books way over there, too, and you should see how many books I got in PDF on my freaking computer, and turns out I'm not so stupid. But that was like that was the missile that, like, just, we're going down. The ship started going down after that. And then I started becoming right-wing, because that was when I first started becoming more isolated, and I got off Facebook for a while. I deactivated my Facebook for like a year and a half, and that's when I started developing right-wing opinions. It's really weird, man, because when the police videos first started coming out, like the cop watch and cop block and stuff, I was more of a liberal. My initial reaction, I remember being in arguments about the Ferguson riots, and I was arguing on the side of, it was like proto Black Lives Matter. I don't know if Black Lives Matter was a thing yet, but it was the kind of attitude that would eventually evolve into Black Lives Matter. I was in those threads arguing against conservatives, okay? And I posted cop watch videos on my channel where I'd say things like, there's an epidemic of cops beating up black people for no reason. And there was some sort of a big protest in Portland, and they got surrounded by police, and everybody was getting arrested. This was in like 2014, like late 2014, early 2015. I was all worked up about it. I called my mom from Vegas, like, the cops are arresting people for no reason. And the funny thing is, like, because what it started out is I had kind of like a conspiratorial, left-wing, liberal way of being, okay? And that lasted like maybe 3 or 4 months, and then one day it just clicked. It's like, these black people they're not doing anything, and the cops, and oh, and then it just kind of clicked, you know? And I started to see things different. I'm like, well, do other people see it this way? Well, I know they do, because I've been probably unconsciously getting red-pilled by these people that I was debating in these threads. So this is like, you know, I think the Ferguson riots was like the first one. I can't remember what the name of the guy was that was over. But it was Ferguson. Like, when Ferguson was happening, I was kind of from a left-wing angle. So all of 2015, I was like writing music because I was doing a development deal. And I was kind of like checked out of the world. I was into the occult. I was focusing on my rap. I found 4chan after Donald Trump won. There was a video, I've talked about it a lot, from Pooh Burrito called The Year That 4chan Won. That's how I found I mean, I'd already heard of 4chan. There was a local 4chan presence in my hometown. People would like post a bunch of horse penises all over the tree in the high school and take pictures of it and post it on B or something. But I never cared about that. You know, I'd heard about 4chan, but it was always B. Nobody here was from the place that shall not be named. And I never cared about that. One of my friends tried to show me B in high school, and I was like, I don't get it. I don't know why anybody would go here. I don't know the appeal of this. But, yeah, I had always heard about 4chan, and then I had finally checked it out in 2016, and went right down that rabbit hole that a lot of y'all went down. And, you know, I'm not here to try to, like, preach you out of your far-right views. I'm not here to, like, lecture people on how far-right you should be, or, like, this particular video isn't about the truth. This ended up just being my life story rehashed all over again. But I guess this first 23 minutes is kind of just trying to get you up to speed on, because then I reacted my Facebook. I had already pretty much cleared out Kodiak people from the whole, like, I'm smarter than, like, 80% of you line. Like, they seemed like they were really upset after I said that. A lot of people just cleared out after that. And, but then when I got back on Facebook, it's like, dude, it's good to see you, and I was in good spirits. And then the right-wing opinions just started kind of leaking out. And I observed other people, man. I observed some of these people that I had no idea really what their political views were. And just like mocking people for being Trump supporters. And I ended up being like pretty damn pro-Trump in 2016. And I was pro-Trump in the election, too. I wanted Trump to win. It did not take very long for me to get on board with Trump. And, yeah, man, so it was actually, I'm remembering now, because I pointed out the thread where, like, everybody was canceling me. That was because I got in, like, a couple of different, I was just, like, going to town on a bunch of different people. And where one of those main arguments started was over politics, and like everybody there was a lefty, and they're like, I just don't possibly understand how anybody could ever be a conservative. And I just went in there and, you know, called people soy boys and called people like bleeding hearts and talking about right-wing opinions, man. We don't need to line it all out here. But it happened so fast, you know? I didn't have... Because I was kind of rebelling against just being basically like my default state, which I feel like is the default state in the United States, is to be moderately leftist. I was just, by default, moderately leftist. I was a musician in Boston, you know, little political this and that's would be around, and I would just kind of like play dumb. I mean, I didn't really have to play that hard. One time on OkCupid, I was talking to a girl. I was like, so what are you into? She's like, oh, well, I'm really into feminism. And I wasn't even trying to be a smartass. I was like, wow, that's adorable. I thought, I don't know, dude. That's funny to think somebody would like not realize how that would sound to a feminist. But I'm like, wow, that's really adorable. Or something like that. Like, wow, that's cute when she's into feminism. And then she types up this freaking, it's not cute. See, this is exactly what I expect from a patriarchal, uneducated male. And she just freaking, just chewed my freaking ear off. And that was it. So I had seen these little hints in Boston when I was like 22. Like, huh, okay. Feminist women are kind of unhinged and insane. Oh, well. And I just didn't really think that much of it. Because, you know, and then my roommate, he was explaining to me conservative politics for the first time in my life. But he was kind of this metal edgelord. He made it out to be really edgy. But he was also just kind of honest. He's like, you know, if there's no cap at the top for wealth, but there is a cap for how poor you can be, it creates a really screwed up economy where rich people can just keep climbing the ranks, and, you know, the poor people just like don't die because people are keeping them alive artificially. Me and him would go on these walks around Boston, whatever we were doing, going to buy weed or just going to go get food or on the way to a party or something, and he was just kind of casually red pilling me on conservative politics. You know, he's from a rich family. And I was just really cool, dude. I was the kind of guy who, yeah, I was kind of more default leftist. There would be other people around who kind of acknowledged how that's like, man, he's kind of racist, he's kind of this. I was kind of like, yeah, he kind of is. But when I was around him, listening to his points, it's like, huh, that's pretty reasonable. I was very open-minded, man. I'm the kind of guy who, in my young 20s, I was just quiet. You know all those memes that like women post that's like, just because I'm quiet doesn't mean I don't understand. It's kind of how I was. I was the kind of guy who was a little bit more quiet, played dumb, didn't try to like beat people in like intelligence pissing matches, and then low key, like as we got older, like I disappeared and returned back on the map one day, and now I'm like the king of autism, smarter than pretty much fucking everybody that I ever knew. Okay? Maybe that's not the best way to say it, but I was very quiet, I was very unassuming, you know, I was very live and let live, like, wow, this guy's, like, far right, and he's, like, telling me, like, pretty far right-wing stuff. I'm like, wow, I've never met anybody who's like that before. Interesting. But I was more leftist. I was like, you know, I think that I wanted Obama to win, but I don't really care. So I was rebelling against that, because I kind of realized that I had kind of just been programmed to be this, like, cuck, and, it was just like a pair of pants, dude. I put on that, like, edgy conservative pair of pants that 4chan lays out for you. Calling people soy boys. Calling people cucks. You know, being like, oh, I'm a white male. Is that okay with you, sweetie? Is it okay if I'm a white male? Is it okay if I call you sweetie? And people are like, oh, it was horrible. He called me sweetie. Like, people acted like I was just such a horrible guy, and I don't remember every detail of it, but, you know, I called people soy boys. I don't even know if cuck was a thing yet. I basically called people soy boys, called women sweetie, and kind of played this little rebellious conservative role. And my perspective, guys, is that people wanted me gone. People were intimidated by me for the things that I was trying to do with my life. And they were waiting for me to screw up, and they had been planting seeds. You know, I got a lot of negative looks over the course of my life, and a lot of people little disrespect, and I was always very passive. I've been able to become way more at peace with things. It used to really eat me up how I would meet people's aggressiveness and insults with being passive. I thought, that's being a bitch. And, when it comes down to, like, aggressive, like, fighting stuff, I'm still not thrilled about that. Because now I feel like I can handle myself way better in those kind of situations. But even then, I've really just looked back and thought, I was inherently peaceful. I was inherently meek. The law of God had a very strong printing on my heart. And I see how that wore away over the years from trying to follow the ways of the world. But, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll have to be a little bit more thoughtful with how I title this video, because I wanted it to be just how so many men have been thrown away for being a conservative. Basically, guys, the point I really wanted to make in this video is that I believe, and I want people to confirm in the comments if you've seen this and if you've experienced this, I have a feeling that there is just an ocean, just such a large amount of men who are average or below in looks. The things that I talked about, like you had conservative right-wing opinions around 2014 through 2019 till now, and you struggled with women, average or below looks, and now it's been established that basically average men have been cut out of the dating market for the most part, unless you have a lot of good things going for you. And then, the secret third ingredient, the magic key. Oh, the one-eyed Willie's key. Like that I failed in music. That was the hidden secret key to be the chosen chud. But I'll bet, there's all kinds of ways. Like, whatever your story is, like just working a dead-end job, dropping out of school because you hated it. I don't think I'm special for failing in music. Like, the thing that I did that was supposed to get me somewhere in life, it didn't get me anywhere. And it ended up blowing up in my face and amounting to, I don't have a job, I don't have a career, I don't have shit, lost all my friends, conservative. I just feel like there's so many men who have fallen through these cracks, dude. And mainly, it's like because you were right-wing around 2016 till now, and, nothing saved you. It's like, okay, he's kind of right-wing, but he has a sweet mansion. Like, you didn't have a bunch of money. You didn't maintain a group of friends or whatever, maybe because you had moved. I was trying to build something in Vegas when all of this was happening. So, I believe that there is an absolute ocean of young 20s conservative men, or maybe men who were just starting to realize they were conservative, because Trump hit people weird, man. Trump got people thinking. Trump was a really good time to wake up from the Matrix, and I had already been weird, I was maybe into Ancient Aliens, and I was into the occult, and I'd already seen, like, Alex Jones stuff. When I first was moving to Vegas, I went on a big kick of watching Alex Jones, what's this guy called, Jordan Maxwell, and I was trying to find something, dude. And what I've realized is when you're just, like, looking for something and you don't know what you're looking for, that can lead you to some really bad places, like the occult. Or all the way on the furthest right end of the spectrum, which I personally don't agree with. But I'm not here to lecture you against it if that's where you're at. But that's the direction that I was headed around 2016 and 2017. And you go there really quick, dude. It does not take long to go from maybe I agree with Black Lives Matter to maybe Hitler did nothing wrong. That does not take very long, bro. It's like, time! Alright, 3 months. Wow! Less than that. Couple posts, couple infographics, a notorious 6-hour documentary, and you're like, huh, I think I'm starting to see things differently. So, that's pretty much it, guys. I have a feeling there's a lot of you out there, man, and everybody just left you like that. Like, if there's something I can say about the modern left, you guys are not about peace and love, man. You're not peace and love. And, I have been kind of like drifting to a more centrist position, more of like a classical anti-establishment kind of a thing. But what I gotta say to this day about the left, you guys are not about peace and love, dude. You will just decide that somebody deserves to die and have nothing and suffer like that because maybe they have some sort of a conservative religious view about homosexuality, or because, you know, they're like not an ally to feminism or whatever. It's dangerous. It's authoritarian. I mean, these people, ironically, are probably the closest thing to modern Nazis, other than the literal neo-Nazis. But these are the kind of people, they'll be like, there he is, throw him in the gulag, and then of course in the gulag people are like starving to death and dying and getting worked to death and tortured to death. So it's dangerous. These people are so full of hate, and the way that they rationalize it, it's just unbelievable, man. Like, I made a lot of mistakes, and I think a big part of what fueled that is that I was really rebelling because I knew that things in my life hadn't worked up until that point. I was this passive guy. I knew that I was passive. And it really started with like PUA kind of stuff, you know? It's funny how the PUA really can lead you to the far right, because that's basically what happened to me. It starts with the self-improvement. It starts with like, you know, stand up straight, look people in the eyes, be a man, don't just walk people all over you. You know who didn't let people walk all over him? A certain dictator in Germany. But anyway, yeah, man, like, I just played this character, and I was edgy, and I didn't have the Christian morals yet. I played a role, but that kind of resentment that I know people had against me, and the way that people ganged up against me, and dude, I do not regret those people being gone out of my life now. But what it amounts to is that they created an illusion that I had a life. Because it's like, man, I could have either kept those people in my life, and probably what I should have did is just, you know, quietly improved myself and not spurred out, and maybe like appeared back on the radar after I became a better version of myself, and maybe like banged a few more bimbos in that social circle. But I honestly think it was a ticking time bomb, dude. I just think the kind of potential I had, the kind of life I was trying to live, the kind of truths that I was learning about the world, because baby, I was getting red-pilled one way or another. I was going to figure it out one way or another. And let me tell you, these people from my party circle, every single one of them is a raging lefty, borderline communist, ally. The Bible was written by men. All of them. All of them, bro. It's insane. It's completely insane. Very particular set of circumstances in my life. It's One-Eyed Willie's key. Woo! I'm the chosen chud. Alright, well, I feel like the title alone might make this video have some success. Maybe people are interested in hearing my story. Maybe not. Just shy of 40 minutes, so I'll leave you with that. God bless. Until next time.